There's something that, excuse me, there's something that happens when you grow up. There's something that happens when you experience psychological abuse that nobody really talks about clearly. It's not just the chaos, it's not just the unpredictability. It's that over time, you can stop trusting your own perception. What you saw didn't happen. What you felt isn't valid. What you experienced is a misreading. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. You're wrong about what just occurred. And the person telling you you're wrong was there too, so maybe they're right. Do that for long enough, and you don't just doubt specific memories, you doubt the instrument itself. You stop trusting your own experience as a reliable source of information about reality. And that's a quiet kind of damage that follows you everywhere. I've had this show up for me in sales calls. Someone would ask a direct question and I would freeze, terrified to answer because if I answered specifically, they might disagree. And if they disagreed, who was I to trust that my answer was right? It showed up in relationships. My read of a situation would be clear and consistent, and the moment someone offered a different read, I would collapse immediately. Not because their case was stronger, because I'd been trained, conditioned from childhood that my perception was the unreliable one. That's not true because you can be trained. You can be trained from childhood that your perception was the unreliable one. And this can show up in rooms where you had something real to contribute and you stayed quiet instead. Not because you didn't have a point of view, but because you learned not to trust that your point of view is real. Well, I started studying physics, and in one of the foundational principles, Einstein's equivalence principle, something can help you shift this. Here's what it says: you cannot distinguish between standing still in a gravitational field and accelerating through space. From inside a closed system, a box with no windows, the experience is identical. Your observation is completely accurate and completely insufficient to tell you everything about what's happening. But, and this is the part that can land for you, your observation is not wrong. What you're feeling in the box is genuinely what's happening from where you stand. The person outside the box isn't more right than you. They're not seeing the truth while you see illusion. They're in a different box with a different vantage point and a different, equally valid experience of the same underlying reality. Relativity doesn't say your experience is wrong, it says your experience is positional. Those are very different things. Wrong means the instrument is broken. People who have gone through psychological abuse think that, right? That you're broken. So throw out the data, right? The instrument is broken, throw out the data. Positional means the instrument is working perfectly and the data is real. And it needs to be understood in the context of where you were standing when you took it. So let's say you grew up with a narcissistic parent and they train you to believe that your instrument is broken, that your readings can't be trusted, that the data your own experience produces is suspect by default. Einstein, with the full authority of the most rigorous discipline humans have ever built, can provide you with a different frame, that your experience is real data. Not the whole picture, never the whole picture. Nobody's experience is the whole picture. You're always in a box, but real, valid, worth trusting as a starting point rather than doubting as a default. That is not a small thing. That is the difference between moving through the world as someone whose perception can be trusted and moving through it as someone who's always waiting to be told they got it wrong again. I want to be clear about something. Einstein's equivalence principle is a physics principle. It's not a therapeutic framework. It's not designed to address a childhood trauma or any psychological abuse that you may or may not have gone through. But what it can do for you is give you a structure, technically rigorous, experimentally verified structure that just happens to rhyme with something that you need to understand about your own experience. Physics might not heal you, but it can give you a way of thinking about perception that can make it possible for you to start trusting yourself again. That's what cross-domain thinking does at its best. It finds the structure in one field that illuminates something you couldn't see clearly in another. So if you ever grew up being told that your perception was wrong, that what you saw didn't happen, that what you felt wasn't valid, that your experience of reality was the unreliable one, I'm not going to tell you physics will fix that, but I will tell you this. One of the greatest minds in human history spent years building a framework that says your experience, however partial, however positional, however limited by the box you're standing in, is real data. Not proof of craziness, not distortion, but real, positional, valid. You were never wrong about what you experienced. You were just in a box, and so was everyone who told you otherwise.